soar above. In joy, in bliss, my soul delights to know the blessing of your love.
And feeling that blessing of your love, we take a moment of silence to turn within, to give gratitude for all the blessings in our life and for any prayer requests we may have. We will take this moment now. And remember, you're always invited and you're always welcome to continue that prayer request, those blessings, and sharing those with Reverend Brendalyn by emailing those written blessings and requests to brendalyn@unitysantafe.org.
Of eternal love begotten, in the silence, in your presence, I am home. You are ever in my heart. You are ever in my heart, my dearest friend. The love that holds us close can never end, and I know that we could never be apart. You are forever and ever in my heart. Beloved's face, I can feel you in the silence, and your presence brings me home. You are ever in my heart. You are with me on my journey, this I know. I'm never alone. You're beside me, deep inside me, everywhere that I may go. You are forever and ever in my heart. Of eternal love begotten, life without beginning or end. Our true love is not forgotten. Ever in my heart are you, dear friend. Ever in my heart, you are forever in my heart. You are forever and ever in my heart. You are forever and ever in my heart.
Catherine, did you write that song?
I did.
It was brilliant. Oh, I can feel the love. Gorgeous. Always a talent, always a joy. We know Catherine from her songs and all of her songwriting, that she blesses us with her talents. But this morning, we have the great pleasure of her also being our guest speaker, filling in for Reverend Brendalyn this morning. Catherine has been a member of Unity Santa Fe since 2011. She's served as the choir director for 7 years and worked in our office as a communications and project director for more than 3 years. Catherine also serves Unity Santa Fe as a parish chaplain and continues to contribute to the music program remotely today she's in the sanctuary. We're blessed to have her. In September of 2018, Catherine's husband of 19 years, John Nissick, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Catherine shares the story of their journey together through the last months of John's life and how this experience has brought her to a place of even deeper connection. She shares the signs she has received that John is still with her and how he communicates his eternal love for her from the world of spirit. Catherine hopes that sharing her story of being witness and midwife to John's process of physical death will open up discussions about dying that are honest, illuminating, and even hopeful. And again, we are welcome and blessed to have Catherine Donavon this morning with us.
Thank you so much, Heidi. And I'm getting a little echo here, so I don't know if that's other people are hearing that or not. But anyway, it's a great honor to be asked to speak to you today. And I'm going to begin with a little reading from a book called Awakening from Grief, Finding the Way Back to Joy by Johnny Welshons. Sorry, I may cry. Each person who enters our lives and every experience we have is a teacher. Some things we learn about ourselves amaze us. Some trouble us. But through it all, each relationship continues. Everyone we have loved has become a part of us. And no relationship created in love can ever die. So as Heidi mentioned, in September of 2018, my husband, John Nixick, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of unknown primary. If it's a new term to you, it certainly was to us. I'd never heard of it before. But John's oncologist explained that sometimes the cancer develops in one area of the body and goes undetected, then it metastasizes to other areas and disappears from the original site. And though John had a number of tests to try to determine the primary source, it was never found. The pathology suggested pancreatic cancer, which had spread to his left lung, where it was detected when he had a CT scan for an unrelated issue. So surgical removal of the mass was not an option. John's lungs were compromised by COPD. The oncologist explained the types of chemotherapy that could be employed, along with radiation. And she also explained the side effects and the limitations. John asked about his prognosis, should he choose to forego treatment, and she told him that in her experience, he could probably expect 6 months to a year. Now I have to explain something about John. He had been a 3-pack-a-day smoker for over 30 years, from the time he was a teenager. And though he had quit in the 90s, he never lost the craving. And he always said to me, he said, Catherine, if I'm ever in a doctor's office and he looks me in the eye and says, John, you have 6 months to live, the first thing I'm gonna do is go out and buy several cartons of cigarettes. Well, true to his word, we got in the car and he said, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna drive out to Buffalo Thunder to the smoke shop and buy me 4 cartons of Marlboro Lights, which I did. I mean, what was it gonna do, kill him? And he smoked happily until almost the end of his life. A few days later, we met the palliative care doctor, who was a little less optimistic about John's prognosis. He told John that 3 to 6 months was more realistic, and that if John had anything he wanted to do, he should do it in the next 2 months. John had been dealing with a number of health issues for several years, including diabetes, Parkinson's, atrial fibrillation, the advanced COPD, and a serious neurological condition that was inherited. He decided that given all that, he didn't want to put either of us through the difficult treatments that were not a cure and might only buy him a very few months. So he made the decision to forego treatment and to spend what time he had left finishing a novel he'd been working on, calling friends and family and saying goodbye and telling them how much their friendship had meant to him, and to try to enjoy his life as much as possible. Fall has always been my favorite time of year. John and I both celebrated our birthdays in early October, and we were married on a beautiful fall day in September, and had just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary. But now here I was on October 24th, 2 months after the lung tumor was detected, making arrangements for John to begin hospice care.
Is she frozen for everybody?
I'm so sorry, Catherine. It looks like you're frozen up. Your internet feed is frozen, not you.
Catherine, maybe you want to get rid of your camera and that will give you more bandwidth.
Evidently, I was frozen on the other one. Now I'm not frozen.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, backtracking a little bit. Judy Harula was our hospice nurse, for which I was very, very grateful. We had a wonderful male aide named Ted, who John became very fond of. He came in 3 times a week to begin with and helped John bathe and change the bed linens and did household tasks. I also had an outpouring of support from friends from Unity and all over, who brought meals, ran errands. Bill Glasser came and installed safety bars in our shower. My wonderful friend Janet McCanna did our laundry for 3 months. And others would come and sit with John for an hour or two to give me a little break from the 24/7 regimen of caregiving. But most of the time it was John and I learning together to navigate this new landscape and how to adjust to the inevitable changes in his ability to function. Rev Brendalyn loaned me a copy of Denise Cope's book, Dying, A Natural Process. Denise was a longtime hospice nurse, and her book became my guidebook and my Bible. In the same way that expectant parents embrace what to expect when you're expecting, I came to rely on the information and the wisdom in Denise's book, and it was my lifeline and my daily companion. As we all know, the dying process takes place on many levels, the physical, of course, but also emotional, psychological, and spiritual. There were many adjustments on the physical level as John became weaker and needed more and more help just to accomplish the most basic functions. And for him, there was a profound loss of dignity in losing control over his body. He had had a stroke a few years before that affected his speech center. And as he became more ill, his diminishing ability to speak clearly and remember words was disheartening for a man who had been nothing short of loquacious. Eventually, he could not hold a utensil to feed himself or to hold on to his beloved cigarettes. I had to monitor that activity carefully lest he set himself ablaze. The one blessing was that he did not experience a great degree of physical pain, and what pain he had was manageable with medication. In the first few weeks of hospice, Judy would talk with John about how he was feeling, not just physically, but about where he was emotionally and about what he believed about what happens after death. I was included in these discussions mostly as an observer, but it did open the door for me to be able to go a little deeper with him when we would talk about how each of us was feeling. And it opened up an opportunity for me to share what I believed about life after physical death. Now, John himself was not a spiritual seeker, and he actually referred to spiritual beliefs as woo-woo juju. He was, however, one of the most big-hearted and generous people I have ever known. Because of my spiritual beliefs and activities, I probably was on paper not the woman he would ever wind up with, but we got to know each other, and our relationship was one of abiding love, deep respect, a shared passion for the arts, trust, honesty, and lots of laughter. John was open to hearing my beliefs about who we truly are as spiritual beings and how we return to our spiritual home when we let go of the physical body. Although intellectually, he seemed to hold on very tightly to his belief in the finality of death, I did sense in him a nascent willingness to entertain the possibility of something more. And I remember one day asking him that if he found himself in the world of spirit, would he send me a sign? And he promised that he would. On Sunday, January 13th of 2019, John's body, his beautiful spirit, left his body. Debbie Alm had come to stay with me over the weekend, and we were eating dinner in another part of the house when we heard John's little dog, Pedro, give 2 sharp barks. Now I have to explain about John and Pedro. If ever a man and a dog were soulmates, it was these 2. They were devoted to each other. And during John's illness, Pedro stayed right on top of him or right next to him, other than to go outdoors or to eat or to greet people at the front door, which was his main job. So when I heard these little sharp barks, I knew that John's body, his spirit was transitioning from his body, and that was Pedro saying goodbye. I went out to see him. He was still breathing, but it was very shallow, and his pulse was detectable but weak and thready. And in a few moments, I knew that it was his body just winding down, and in a few moments, of course, it did. And my first feeling was one of relief. I was very relieved for John that he was finally free of a body that had become a prison to him. And as much as I knew I would miss his physical presence, I also knew that he would continue to be a very real presence in my life, and that we will be together again on the other side. So the day after John passed, my dear friend Meg Houston came from Florida to spend a week with me. She had made this plan several weeks in advance, and a part of me believes that John, knowing that she was coming, felt like he was free to leave because I wouldn't be alone. On Thursday of that week, Meg and I attended the healing service at Unity Santa Fe. And while I was there, I was communicating with John. And I asked him to send me a sign. And I was very specific. Coyotes have a very deep meaning for me. And so I asked him to send me a coyote. So on the way home, Meg was driving. We were driving down 599, and I was looking out the window because it was a beautiful night. Deep black velvet sky and brilliant stars, and I was just enjoying the beauty of that scene when I felt Meg put the brakes on. And I said to her, well, why are you slowing down? And she said, well, there was a coyote at the side of the road, and I wanted to make sure I slowed down in case he jumped in front of the car. I had my head in the stars, and I missed the coyote. But I was very grateful to have gotten that sign, and a little surprised that John said it quite that promptly. There were other signs as well. One evening I was sitting in the living room and I heard this loud clatter, and I couldn't imagine what it was or where it had come from. So I looked around, and in the kitchen sink, there was my heavy plastic vegetable brush. It had fallen into the stainless steel sink. Now, there was no reason for it to fall into the sink. It wasn't that close to the sink. Nothing had happened to shake the house or cause it to vibrate over to the sink. And I just kind of smiled and I said, "Is that you, John?" On 3 different mornings, just as I was coming out of sleep, in that little twilight zone between sleeping and waking, I heard a human voice say a 2-syllable word. Now, I couldn't make out the word. It was a very kind of muted voice like Charlie Brown's teacher, but it was very distinctly a human voice. And I've never been sure whether it was John coming to say good morning to me or whether he was coming to say hello to Pedro, who was asleep on his little pillow in the corner. A few weeks after John passed, I had a reading with Tom Newman, who many of you know is a gifted medium, and John came through right away. He was very eager to communicate. I wanted to know if he was surprised to find himself in the world of spirit. And he said, yes, he was very surprised, but that he had had family members and friends who had helped him make the transition even before he left the body. Then I asked him if he had sent the coyote and if he had moved the vegetable brush, and he said he had. Tom actually said that was pretty advanced stuff to be able to move a physical object, and he said John laughed and said, yeah, I catch on pretty fast, don't I? Through Tom, he told me that there would be one more sign, that it would have something to do with my altar. So when I got home, I went up to my meditation room and I looked at my altar. I have a little glass orb that sits on a little metal ring, and it sits there pretty securely. But not only was it not on the ring, it was on the other side of a thick set of prayer beads. There was no way it could have gotten there other than by some kind of divine intervention. So the physical signs seemed to end there, though I often felt John's presence. And in readings with Tom and other mediums, he has always come through with messages of eternal love. Several months passed, and then one day I was driving east on Rodeo Road, and I was hit by a wave of grief and loneliness. A few moments later, a coyote crossed the road in front of my car. And I knew it was John sending me one more message of love and comfort. There were also some little messages left. When I was going through John's computer, I ran across a little document with these short sayings. I call them aphorisms. I don't know when he wrote them. I don't know who he wrote them for, but I felt that they were there for me to find, and I'd like to share them with you. Memories mean less than a butterfly's dream. Fear is nothing more than a soul growing strong. You'll be wonderful soon, no matter how it feels now. You are not alone. Open yourself to all the loving vibes coming at you. Believe it or not, you'll look back on these times and laugh. And my favorite, you are wonderful and good and beautiful. And everyone loves you, especially John. So let's take a few moments to be quiet. Find a comfortable way to sit in your chair. Allow your eyes to gently, gently close. And just breathe naturally, in through the nose and out through pursed lips as though blowing out a candle. And as you breathe in, visualize breathing in the love, the light, and the energy of spirit. And on the exhale, release anything that is not serving you at this moment. Any physical discomfort or emotional discomfort. Just gently breathe in love, light, and energy, and then release what does not serve. And just let all of that love and light fill your body and expand out beyond your body. And I invite you to hold in your mind's eye someone you love who is now in spirit. A friend, a loved one, a spouse, a child, someone to whom you feel this deep connection of eternal love. And as you visualize this person, look deep into his or her eyes and just notice the love coming at you and the love that connects you. And let's just hold on to that wonderful moment of communion with your loved one on the other side in the silence. And now allow yourself very gently to return to this moment in time. Allow your eyes to open very slowly and gently as you let go of that image. But know that you carry this person always, always in your heart. that connection of deep and abiding love is always there, and that love never dies. Amen. Many highways lead to one destination. Many rivers flow into one great sea. Many thoughts converge into one creation. Many threads compose a grand tapestry. Many hearts beat in a universal rhythm. Many voices join in one celestial hymn. Many tiny lights all burning together make a glow that darkness never can dim. Some say that home is where the heart is. Others long for the home of their youth. Oh, but I say all roads lead us home, and there's no place like it where all may live together in the oneness of truth. When my final day on earth is decided, and my weary soul flies free in its time, by my dearest friends in spirit I'm guided to know in this passing there's joy everlasting at home where the heart is. Eternal love is mine.